Have you ever felt a slight shiver while standing in the middle of a giant supermarket? Thousands of items, from avocados imported from Mexico to microchips made in Taiwan, all sitting there, neatly arranged with a specific price tag. No king ordered how many avocados to bring here. No council meets every morning to decide the price of the microchip. Yet everything just works. But where does that shiver come from? It stems from a vague fear that this machine is too complex to remain stable forever. We are often taught that the market corrects itself, that supply will meet demand. But in 1972, the Royal Swedish Academy of Economics awarded the Nobel Prize to two men who spent their lives proving the opposite, using the language of pure mathematics. They were John Hicks and Kenneth Arrow. They were not awarded for finding a way to make us richer. They were honored for drawing the blueprint of the matrix, the system of general equilibrium. And in the process, they inadvertently revealed that the perfection we crave is actually a ticking bomb. Do you truly believe that your vote or your decision to buy a house is an act of free will? Or are you just a variable in an equation with no solution?
To understand why Hicks and Arrow were so important that they caused a stir, we must go back to the mindset of the 20th century. It was the era of big dreams. After two world wars and the Great Depression, humanity craved order. Economists didn't want to be just observers. They wanted to be engineers. They wanted to believe that the economy was like a Swiss watch, complex, but predictable and fixable. John Hicks, a British man with a calm demeanor, was the first to try to draw a map for this labyrinth. Before Hicks, economics was full of flowery words and vague philosophy. Hicks changed it all. With value and capital and theory of wages, he did something extraordinary. He turned the messy theories of John Maynard Keynes into simple geometric graphs. If you ever studied macroeconomics and struggled with the ISLM model, blame John Hicks. But be grateful to him. He gave the world a common language. He said, everything is connected. Your wage doesn't just depend on how hard you work, but also on bank interest rates, raw material prices, and the sentiment of an investor across the ocean. Hicks was the builder of the foundation. He gave us intellectual comfort, intellectual superiority, that we can understand this world. But that comfort was about to be torn apart because a younger, sharper genius from the United States was about to enter the stage. Kenneth Arrow.
Unlike Hicks, who tried to simplify, Kenneth Arrow was the embodiment of ruthless precision. Arrow was a mathematical prodigy who saw the world not through stories, but through axioms. The common theme binding these two men at the 1972 Nobel ceremony was general equilibrium theory. This is the holy grail of economics. The big question was, in a world with billions of buying and selling decisions happening every second, does there exist a state of equilibrium where everyone is satisfied, there are no surplus goods, no shortages, and prices are stable? Adam Smith called it the invisible hand. Hicks described it with graphs. But Kenneth Arrow, along with Gerard Debreu, proved it mathematically. And this is where the irony begins. Arrow proved that, yes, a perfect market equilibrium can exist, but the conditions for it to exist are utterly absurd. To have the perfect market, as Hicks and the classicists desired, we need everyone must know the future, perfect information. No one has the power to manipulate prices, no monopolies. Markets must exist for everything, including future risks. Arrow, with his supreme intellect, indirectly told us, the perfect free market is a unicorn. It is beautiful in mathematics, but it does not exist here. He showed us the limits of understanding. You are living in a system designed based on a false assumption. Your financial insecurity is not because you are incompetent, but because this game is inherently full of bugs right from the design.
Why does this hurt? Imagine Hicks and Arrow as two architects of a massive skyscraper named the modern economy. John Hicks shows us how beautiful and majestic this building is. He shows us how money flows from one floor to another like a plumbing system, value and capital. We look at it and feel proud of human intellect. But Kenneth Arrow is the structural engineer. He goes down to the basement, shines a light on the pillars, and says, in theory, this building stands, but if just one wind named asymmetric information blows, or a crack named social choice appears, it could all collapse. That is why the 1972 Nobel Prize was so important. It marked the moment economics matured. It was no longer about empty promises of endless prosperity. It became a warning about complexity and insurmountable limits. Fatalism. John Hicks's contribution to the theory of wages in 1932 sounds dry, but it explains why your salary doesn't increase even if you work harder. It is the substitution between machines and humans, a silent war predicted nearly a century ago. The cruel truth has just been revealed. The economic system does not care about moral fairness, it only cares about mathematical equilibrium. And sometimes, to achieve equilibrium, humans become redundant numbers.
When mathematics killed the dream of democracy. If the previous part discussed the fragility of the market, in this part, Kenneth Arrow will take you into a deeper nightmare, the futility of collective choice. Imagine standing in a voting booth or simply sitting in a corporate meeting to decide on a new strategy. You believe that if everyone votes, the collective will produce the optimal outcome. This is the sacred belief of democracy and freedom. The majority is always right, or at least the majority reflects fairness. But in 1951, with the book Social Choice and Individual Values, Kenneth Arrow dropped a nuclear bomb on that belief. He didn't use guns or bullets. He used symbolic logic. He introduced Arrow's impossibility theorem. This theorem states a shocking truth. There is no voting system that can convert individual preferences into a collective decision consistently without violating basic principles. Let me explain in everyday language. Suppose society has three choices, A, B, and C. The majority prefers A over B. The majority prefers B over C. By normal logic, transitivity, the majority must prefer A over C, right? But Arrow proved that in a diverse group, the exact opposite can happen. The majority prefers C over A. This is a cyclical paradox, like the game rock, paper, scissors. Rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, but paper beats rock. There is no true winner. To break this vicious cycle and reach a final decision, society is forced to violate democratic principles. Arrow proved mathematically that you only have two choices. Accept an irrational, chaotic outcome. Accept a dictator, someone with the power to impose their will on everyone to break the deadlock. Your feeling of righteous anger when seeing political gridlock or endless meetings that go nowhere is not due to incompetent leadership. It is the fault of mathematics. Arrow proved perfection in collective choice is impossible.
While Arrow was dismantling our philosophical foundations, John Hicks was trying to patch up reality with pragmatic tools. If Arrow was the philosopher warning of collapse, Hicks was the mechanic trying to keep the engine running. In Theory of Wages and Value in Capital, Hicks tried to resolve the conflict between capital, employers, and labor, employees. He introduced the concept of the elasticity of substitution. He pointed out that if your wages rise too high, employers won't simply pay more, they will change the technology to use more capital, machines, and less labor. Hicks showed us the coldness of the market mechanism. There is no compassion in wage setting. It is a ruthless equilibrium between the cost of a human and the cost of a machine. What does this have to do with you today? Everything. Look at the algorithms of Facebook, Netflix, or TikTok. They are trying to do what Arrow warned was impossible. Aggregate the preferences of billions of individuals to produce a common ranking, trending. And what is the result? Polarization. Because it is impossible to satisfy everyone, as Arrow proved. Algorithms are forced to splinter us into separate bubbles, where everyone feels they are right. And regarding John Hicks, look at the AI wave. As ChatGPT or robots begin to work in place of humans, we are witnessing Hicks' elasticity of substitution happening at light speed. Hicks's 1932 warning is becoming a terrifying reality in 2025, personalized fear.
when technology becomes cheaper than humans, your wages will be suppressed no matter how hard you try, unless you find a way to become unsubstitutable. Hicks and Arrow, one British, one American, one elder and one young prodigy, together painted a portrait of the modern world, an economic system always seeking to eliminate humans for optimization. Hicks, operating within a political society full of contradictions that cannot be solved by logic. Arrow. Do you feel a sense of fatalism creeping into your mind? That we are playing a game where the rules are rigged against us? Don't worry, that is just the first step of awakening.
We have traversed Hicks's illusion of equilibrium and faced Arrow's ruthless impossibility. So what is the final message these two giants leave for us, the small individuals struggling with daily livelihoods? Is it resignation? No. It is intellectual humility. The 1972 Nobel Prize in Economics did not celebrate the ability to control the world, but rather the ability to recognize our limits before it. John Hicks and Kenneth Arrow taught us a painful but liberating lesson. Never blindly trust systems that promise perfection. When a financial expert tells you the market will definitely go up, remember Arrow. No one possesses enough information to know for sure. And even if they did, the actions of the crowd can bend all logic. When a politician promises a new policy will satisfy everyone, remember the impossibility theorem. Absolute collective satisfaction is an unsolvable mathematical paradox. Someone will always be disadvantaged. It's not personal cruelty, it's a system bug. Validation for you. If you have always felt that this world is chaotic, unfair, and unpredictable, you are right. You are not crazy. Even the most advanced mathematical models confirm that chaos is the default nature. We live in an era where humans yearn to delegate decision-making to machines, AI, and algorithms, hoping they will create the general equilibrium society that humans failed to build. We hope AI will distribute wealth fairly, Hicks, and make optimal decisions for society, Arrow. But be warned, Hicks and Arrow's models caution that if we feed machines false assumptions about humans, treating humans as purely rational and predictable creatures, we will build digital prisons instead of paradises. Hicks showed that if humans become more expensive than machines, the system will eliminate humans. Arrow showed that if trying to optimize for the crowd, the individual voice can be stifled by a dictator. And in the future, that dictator might be a line of code. Ultimately, the greatest value of John Hicks and Kenneth Arrow does not lie in the equations on the blackboard. It lies in the fact that they gave us a flashlight to shine into the darkness of the economic labyrinth. They didn't give us a map to escape because there is no exit, but they helped us understand the structure of the surrounding walls. Understand Hicks to know that your job position is always threatened by cost and technology, and thus constantly learn to become hard to substitute. Understand Arrow to know that collective decisions are always flawed, and thus expect less salvation from the outside, and focus on building personal autonomy. That is the only freedom we have, the freedom that comes from clearly understanding the rules of the game, no matter how harsh those rules may be.
Let's be honest. Do you feel a sense of intellectual superiority when seeing economic forecasts by governments or major institutions fail miserably? In 2008, they said the banking system was sound. In 2021, they said inflation was transitory. And then boom, everything exploded. Why do the smartest people, armed with billions of data points and supercomputers, lose to a housewife grocery shopping when it comes to sensing price storms? The answer lies in Friedrich Hayek's 1974 Nobel Prize. He called it the pretense of knowledge. He told the world, the reason you fail is not because you lack data, but because you think you can collect it. You don't need a superior brain to understand economics. You just need to understand that no brain is superior. To understand Hayek, you must understand his ideological nemesis. Throughout the mid-20th century, the world was mesmerized by John Maynard Keynes. Keynes believed the government was like a driver, able to press the gas, print money, or the brake, raise taxes, to steer the economy. Hicks and Arrow, whom we discussed previously, were the ones designing the dashboard for that car. Hayek was the outcast. He was seen as a grumpy, conservative old man clinging to an obsolete, free market belief. He lived in Keynes's shadow for 30 years. But by the 1970s, when increased government intervention only led to economic ruin, stagflation, the world panic-turned back to him. The 1974 Nobel was a belated admission that maybe this difficult Austrian guy was right. Hayek was not a mathematician. He was a social philosopher. He didn't view humans as variables X, Y. He viewed humans as imperfect creatures capable of miraculous self-organization. Hayek's core idea is shockingly simple, yet it destroys the entire dream of central planned economies. He argued that economic knowledge is not statistical figures sitting on the desk of the Ministry of Planning. Economic knowledge is dispersed in the heads of billions of people. The truck driver knows which road is congested. The farmer knows which patch of land is dry this year. The broker knows which neighborhood is hot. No supercomputer, no central committee can collect all those scraps of real-time knowledge to make the right decision for everyone. When a government tries to fix the price of gasoline or housing, they are acting in blindness. They lack local knowledge. And that is why, according to Hayek, every attempt at central planning leads to shortages or waste. Recall the used car example. Arrow feared asymmetric information. Hayek said that asymmetry is the driver. Because everyone knows different things, they need to exchange. Don't try to level the knowledge, let it connect freely.
If Hayek said that no one has enough knowledge to run the economy, why doesn't the world collapse tomorrow? Why is there still bread in the supermarket and gas at the pump? Hayek's answer is one of the most beautiful ideas in social science, the price system. Hayek didn't view price as just a number you pay. He viewed price as an information signal. Listen to his classic example of the tin mine. Suppose a major tin mine somewhere in the world collapses. Without anyone giving an order, the price of tin will rise. Far away, a can manufacturer sees the price of tin go up. He doesn't need to know if the mine collapsed, or if workers are on strike, or if there is a war. He doesn't need to know why. He only needs to know one thing. Save tin, switch to aluminum. Through just one number, price increase, millions of strangers across the world automatically adjust their behavior to conserve the scarce resource. That is spontaneous order. A rhythmic dance of billions of people without a conductor. When the government tries to stabilize prices by force, they are not helping you. They are cutting the telephone line. They are jamming the signal. The result is that consumers don't know to save, producers don't know to increase supply, and scarcity becomes a disaster. If Hayek were alive today, he would smile or worry looking at Bitcoin and blockchain. Why? Because cryptocurrency in its primal form is Hayek's dream, a stateless currency. In 1976, he wrote The Denationalization of Money. He argued that the main cause of inflation and recession is the government's monopoly on printing money. When the government prints money recklessly, they distort price signals, like watering down wine. The battle between DeFi, decentralized finance, and central banks today is the modern reenactment of the debate between Hayek, free market, and Keynes, central control. Every time you see inflation eroding your savings, personalized fear, remember Hayek. He would say it's not a natural disaster. It's because the driver, the central bank, got drunk and pumped too many fake signals into the economy. Your righteous anger is justified. You work hard to earn money, but the value of that money is decided by people you have never met inside closed meeting rooms.
Friedrich Hayek passed away in 1992 after witnessing the collapse of the Soviet Union, an event many considered the most eloquent proof of his warning about the failure of planned economies. But his legacy is not a cheer of victory. It is a stern reminder of responsibility. Hayek taught us that freedom is not free. If you want a free market that delivers prosperity, you must accept its uncertainty. You cannot demand freedom while also demanding that the government guarantee you never lose. We, modern humans, are often trapped in a contradiction. We hate control, but we fear chaos. We want spontaneous order, but when that order hurts us, unemployment, bankruptcy, we scream for the visible hand to intervene. This is where you need intellectual courage. Understand that no one is smarter than the market. Instead of trying to control the tide, learn to build a good boat. In the coming AI era, the temptation of the pretense of knowledge will return stronger than ever. People will say, humans cannot plan the economy, but super AI can. Hayek would warn you, AI can process data, but it cannot replace the desires, values, and subjective choices of billions of humans. Do not surrender your freedom to an algorithm, no matter how smart it seems.
Answer honestly. If you drop a $50 bill, is the pain you feel equal to the joy of finding a $50 bill? Mathematically, they are equal. But emotionally, the pain of loss is usually twice as intense as the pleasure of gain. You will agonize all day over losing money, but only feel happy for a moment when finding it. Why? Welcome to the world of Daniel Kahneman. He killed Homo economicus, or economic man, a fictional character that economists used for 200 years to build their models. Kahneman pointed out that we are not profit-optimizing machines. We are primates full of errors, biases, and fears. Validation. Have you ever blamed yourself for buying a useless item just because it was 50% off? Don't worry, it's not your fault. It's a design flaw in your brain. Before 2002, economics and psychology were parallel lines. Economists like Arrow or Hayek built magnificent theoretical castles based on the assumption that humans act rationally. Daniel Kahneman, along with his late partner Amos Tversky, were outsiders. They were cognitive psychologists. They observed how humans actually make decisions under uncertainty. They realized a shocking truth. Human errors are not random. They are systematic. We make the same mistakes repeatedly and predictably. Their work, known as behavioral economics, shook the foundations of the free market, because if humans are irrational, where will Adam Smith's invisible hand lead us? Possibly off a cliff. To understand why you make terrible financial decisions, Kahneman introduced two characters in your head. System 1. Fast, instinctive, emotional, low energy cost. For example, see a lion, run, see a red sale sign, want to buy. System 2. Slow, logical, calculating, high energy cost. For example, solve 17 times 24. Humanity's problem is, System 2 is very lazy. For 95% of our lives, we let System 1 drive. We buy houses, get married, and invest in stocks using the emotions of System 1 and then use System 2 to justify those decisions. You think you are the brilliant captain, System 2, but actually the monkey, System 1, is holding the steering wheel.